Hey guys, welcome to Fintech Insider News. Welcome to Fintech Insider On Air. Man, we do a lot of these. I'm like mixing up which show we're actually doing this with straight out the bat. Lovely that this is live, isn't it? Not embarrassing at all. This is episode 21 of these. So if you caught last week's, we were back in the 11FS offices with Tracy, who's the chairwoman of Money20. This week we're actually at Money20, which is super cool. So if you missed that and you're getting real FOMO of all of those tweets that you're seeing from all of the different people out there, then head over to the 11FS YouTube channel. You'll be able to catch up on that, see what Tracy said both about females in financial services and actually what we can do to address the inequality in some of those instances, and also the things that she was really excited about for Money20. This week we're here, we're sat on the couch, there's all of this happening in the background, but we brought these two guys to come and chat to you about something that I think both of you are probably very, very passionate about. So first up, why don't we get into who the guests are. So coming back by, I think I lose count of how many different times you've actually been on Fintech Insider, or actually you were on the very first episode of Fintech Insider On Air, weren't you?
You and me talking
Indeed.
stuff about open banking.
Indeed. So Mr. Simon Vans-Colina from Monzo, how's it going?
Yeah, great, thanks. Thanks for having me back.
I mean, it's only, 2 o'clock on day one, but have you had a good wander around?
I have. I've lost like about 2/3 of my voice already, which is great for day one of a 3-day conference, but yeah.
Well, I mean, as long as you keep your voice for the effing debate later on, mate. Like, in fact, actually, no, you're on the other side, so don't keep your voice. If you could talk very loudly in this, that would be great.
So that was his secret plan, to get me here and get me all talked out.
Pretty much. I mean, I'm not above dirty tactics, I'm just saying. So.
No, it's the only way you're going to win.
And joining you over on the couch, so we've got Husayn from Onfido. You're the CEO of Onfido. You've been on Fintech Insider News a couple of times, haven't you?
Three or so times,
yeah.
Yep.
Never live. Like, you'll forget the camera's there really, really quickly. So.
Let's hope so.
So this week what we're going to be talking about is the future of technology. I think, if I'm honest with you, having you two on the couch is pretty intimidating. I think you're probably the two most intelligent people I know, which is, why I was probably put over here and you guys are over there, you know. But we're going to be talking about all of the things that we're probably excited about in terms of the advancements that we're seeing in technology. As always, it's probably good to kind of start with some stats. So what we've seen is 49% of organizations reported that they're exploring or just looking into deploying machine learning, whatever the fuck that actually means, because I think machine learning has quite a broad context in terms of definition, but we'll get into that in a minute. 61% of marketeers say AI is the most important aspect of their data strategy, which I'm going to probably say they don't understand what that actually means in order doing it, whether it's an incredibly basic algorithm or whether it's actually something that is artificial intelligence is probably a nuance. But another one says by 2022, the market size of AR and VR is projected to be almost $200 billion, which would be almost 10 times it from today, which is kind of scary, but I guess with some of the advancements that we're seeing could be true. So, I mean, alongside some of these stats, Pet managed to pull out a tweet here from you, Simon, which is fun, saying, I just ordered a 3D print model of a ripped and made this morning. We're living in the future, I tell you. Also booked 2 more gigs, including Tricky.
Yeah.
That's impressive. Like, and this was...
I didn't really understand how Twitter worked back then.
I should say, this is April 2011. So like,
yeah.
you're on the early edge of that adoption curve.
2011 was a good year for technology. I got into Bitcoin around the same time. So.
Nice. Has your music taste changed slightly since then?
No, I still love Tricky.
Nice. All right, well, let's maybe start with AI and machine learning. So, I mean, there's lots of people out there talking about various different elements of this, from, like, say, from something that isn't really AI in any way, shape, or form to something that actually is really looking at sort of being on the bleeding edge of this. And what do you guys think in this space?
I mean, I think it's way more relevant to companies like Onfido, who, I mean, machine learning is it covers a lot of things. But one of the most exciting aspects is like doing really boring, repetitive tasks, like trying to work out if somebody's a fraudster or if this person's a good person to lend money to, or things where you want to apply the same set of rules again and again and again. And once you've got that rule set down, which is what machine learning does, it learns the rule set, then the application of that rule set is something that no human should ever be forced to do. So I'm really excited about that. I'm sure you probably are as well.
Yeah, it's like you say, more and more companies are talking about using machine learning, but it depends what they're using it for, if it's gain customers or to gain investment, whatever it is. And 3 or 4 years ago, it was kind of normal, but as with anything, once it's overused, people are becoming more cautious.
Yeah.
So I know that journalists, for example, now won't take an interview with anyone unless they go on LinkedIn, look at the people that you've hired, and see, are there any machine learning engineers or not, for instance. So there are a few tactics that are now being used, but more broadly than that, when it comes to this trend, it's likely to continue just because machine learning has a very strong and powerful implication in helping do often routine tasks. In our case, it's spotting patterns and fake IDs, for instance.
Yeah.
Can I ask a question? Can I jump in and ask a question? You know these deep fakes things?
Yep.
Have you seen that? There's a paper came out last week. It was on 2-minute papers on YouTube. And it was about creating a video of a person from a single image. And Onfido, I think we actually send videos, selfies to companies like Onfido to work out if a video matches the face on a passport, right? Are you worried about somebody using deep learning, machine learning, to produce a realistic enough video from a single image that they might be able to take the picture on a passport and create a video that's something like, "Hi, my name's Simon and I want a Monzo card"? What do you think? Is that going to happen?
So it can do. It already has happened in that you can get fraudsters quite effectively doing that. There's two things that count. One is fraudsters usually want to attack in a very scalable way. So they want to create 100 fraudulent accounts and hit the same day. So if it takes them an hour or two to create that deep fake, it's not as scalable. They may as well go somewhere else. But the second thing is why, big Monzo fan, but hi, I want to open a Monzo account is the same word, so you can pre-record that. Whereas if you had 3 randomly generated numbers that they had to read out, it would add another layer where you had to do it live. And doing it live is even tougher.
We've actually thought about, I don't know if this is serious or not, but we thought about asking people to tell us a joke instead of saying the phrase.
But
and if your joke's already been used.
So if it's like live on this, tell them like even words, give them 3 words to read on the spot. It'd be harder because those deep fakes you kind of need often.
Oh, I see. So there wouldn't be any time delay. We've given you the 3 words and you have to say them straight away.
Yeah. So it's the random nature of it that stops it kind of being predicted by something.
Did you just give away an incredibly valuable trade secret live on air?
It's all on all our SDKs.
I do like the idea of having a joke, and if the joke isn't funny, you're not allowed an account there.
Or if the joke's been heard before, you can't.
Wow. So you have to have an original joke.
Original joke.
Wow. Monzo's KYC is getting really.
His idea is way better.
Well, like you say, because these are, like you say, anything that is essentially scalable makes it, if it's about hacking into creating one account or doing one thing, unless there's like £10 million in that one single access account, it's probably not worth a fraudster's view. But something like AML definitely is. Actually from an AML perspective, we're in a situation where we're still only catching like 1% of fraud in that instance. So, the recognition that potentially something like AI, like you say, recognizing patterns, understanding the tolerances, and being able to even be earlier warning systems for those types of things. This is where I really see it could actually start giving a lot more benefit,
Yeah, exactly. I mean, when we started 7 years ago, we just found that none of the way that the verification happened made any sense to us.
Yeah.
In large part, credit bureaus are tasked with stopping fraud, but they inadvertently make it worse by aggregating everyone's data, which is basically what the fraudsters need, and then getting hacked. So if it's just your date of birth, name and address, then it's kind of pretty easy to do. Whereas machine learning helps sit in the middle and stop fraud, but it's a wave of regtechs that are trying this, Comply Advantage, SIFT, or Feature Space, or Dark Trace. And at the fundamental layer, you're sitting in the middle of different businesses, and as you learn from each of them, you get stronger and it helps everyone else.
Yeah.
So it's a counter to the fraudsters, because the fraudsters are equally super smart, they're very driven, often the sophisticated ones are working in office buildings on performance-related pay, so there really needs to be a very strong effort to stop it.
I think your point on the there's lots of startups watching this who will use AI or machine learning as a buzzword to gain investment. Do you think that's still the case? Are we still see? Because I've seen a lot of them. Somebody's kind of come in and gone, yeah, this is an AI machine learning thing, and actually it's like a macro in a spreadsheet. Do you know what I mean? Like, so is it still so buzzy that VCs don't know what they're talking about, or do you think they've caught up a little bit?
So I think some have definitely caught up a little bit, but as far as startups go, there is, in the early days, you might fake it till you make it to some extent. So you might say, look, this is our route to getting unique access to data, which we can build off models. But for me, the onus is on the investors, right? It's for the investors to say, what's the unique data that you have? What's your long-term sustainable competitive advantage? And how are you using machine learning to deliver value that is core to your value proposition?
Yeah.
Because it's wonderful to have machine learning in some component, but is it core to what you're selling?
Yeah.
And that will if more VCs ask the right questions, then more startups will be able to build around that.
Cool. All right. Well, so where do you think this is going to go? Like, do you think AI, machine learning is going to get more and more and more core to, I guess, both of your businesses, but financial services more broadly? Like, what's your prediction for AI?
Google have done that duo thing, which is where they have, like, they're training a machine to learn to talk to a human. But what they actually want is they want to get to a point where a machine talks to a machine, and then it starts off trying to have a conversation with a human until it realizes it's actually talking to a machine, and then it's able to auto-negotiate a new API.
Yeah.
And I mean, I'll tell you a secret, I'm an engineer. Most core banking systems, most of everything is just moving data from one database to another. When you're building an API, all you're doing is you're taking some data from a database at another organization and you're moving into a database in your organization. And 95% of IT in banks and financial services industries is not the smart algorithm doing the credit scoring or anything else. It's just moving data from one database to another.
Yeah.
And if machine learning gets to a point where it can auto-negotiate the right set of privileges and rights and the ability to negotiate the exchange of data in a way which preserves the sort of referential integrity and keeps high quality information exchange happening, I'm out of a job.
Well, not only you, but like every systems integrator on the planet, right?
Yeah.
I almost feel bad for them at that stage. But this is essentially the situation we will be in, because, like you say, it's the interconnectivity that actually these things will bring, really. You know, what do you think?
Well, in a similar way, my concern is that it's less the machine learning models. Like, they're important, but a lot of PhD students have to publish their research anyway. It's actually access to the data that's far more tricky and challenging.
Yeah.
And that's where you have opportunities for the tech giants to monopolize access, and that's what they're doing. They're hoovering up access to that privileged data.
Yeah.
So over time, they're going to continue to consolidate their power. And in fact, they're going to make it harder for startups to start because there's no data. I mean, there's short-term fixes. Government can open more data. Sure. You can anonymize data. That's wonderful. But in the long term, if you look 10 years from now, I think there will be some backlash where you got the tech giants who've hoovered up all the data. They're building and becoming increasingly more powerful.
Yep.
And there's very little for anyone else.
Well, I think just turned off the API for Nest as well.
Really?
So all of those people who'd built products and services on top of Nest API data, gone overnight, dead.
Is things like that, though, where you're a large company exposing an API, essentially free R&D, though? You know, because I wouldn't be surprised to start seeing Google start launching some of the stuff that other people have built on top of Nest themselves. You know, they've done it a few times already, haven't they? And some of the acquisitions that they've made have then usurped some of the other things. So it's an interesting one.
I don't know if that
do
helps
worry.
or harms.
Yeah.
Because if the tech giants have privileged insight into which startups are doing well and they keep buying them, then they're not letting these startups grow to be a future competitor.
Yeah.
So again, it's consolidating power amongst the top ones.
I mean, big companies buy small companies. It's whether they're a threat or through technological advancements, this does happen, doesn't it?
Yeah,
you know?
but
We've seen it in banking as well, right?
Yeah, I get worried where like Nest is a great example. Like, they have cameras and microphones in basically everyone's house.
Yeah.
And a lot of those thermostats and cameras and microphones are hardwired into the house at the time the house was built. It's not like it can be like, oh, next time I buy a phone, I'm gonna switch to the other ecosystem.
Yeah. It is there now, yeah.
That's it, that's your house. Your house only runs on that thing. And if startups can't make use of the data that comes from those microphones, cameras, and thermostats because the ecosystem has been closed around these tech giants, then we're gonna live in a world where basically we'll have two tribes, Google and Apple, and that'll be it.
What side are you on?
Anti both, right? That'll be the third wave.
But is this not just the formation of
Richard Stallman was right.
Is this not just the formation of like the new norm though? So essentially, we're getting way off track. We'll come back shortly, but being in a situation where it used to be you're either a OS X guy or you're a Windows guy, or you might be weird and do Linux and stuff.
Guy,
yeah. But being in that situation where you have that divide of the access point to information and the distribution setup. Now, actually, to your point, well, I've got 5 Nest cams in my house and a thermostat and all these different things, and I control it via Alexa and all the.
They've just turned it off.
Exactly. So this is going to be interesting to see what happens there.
Yeah.
All right, let's move on though, because there's lots of other good technology that we can get very geeky about. The next one that I'm a personal fan, having spent my weekend playing around one of these ones, but it's AR and VR. And I think Pat, you literally just put this in so we could talk about computer games for the next 20 minutes, basically. But you've been making some purchases in the VR space.
Yes, the Oculus Quest. I haven't told you this story actually. I woke up at 5 o'clock in the morning the night after F8, the Facebook conference.
Okay.
And I ordered an Oculus Quest to get it on the day it came out.
Wow.
And I was eagerly counting down every day. I ordered it from Amazon because they guaranteed delivery on the first day.
Yep.
And the box was delivered to work, and I went downstairs and I went running upstairs and I posted on Slack, does anyone want to come and see the opening of the Quest? A couple of people came over and I ripped open the package and I opened it up, and inside was not a Quest. There was 2.1 kilograms of artificial sweetener.
Oh wow.
Yeah, so somebody
Wow.
at the Amazon factory has helped themselves to a Quest.
Oh dear.
But Amazon were great, they refunded it immediately. Amazon, by the time I reordered it, had sold out. But I managed to find stock at Curry's across the road. So
Wow.
I got my Quest one day late.
And lots of sweetener as well.
Now
Which is,
I had to, no, that's the hilarious thing. I had to return the Amazon
Did you?
sweetener.
Wow.
I had to return the sweetener to Amazon at their expense, so I could get my Quest refund. But it's been amazing since I got it. It's been absolutely incredible. We're like playing Beat Saber and Super Hot, and like it's everything I've been dreaming of since Palmer Luckey like invented the Oculus, whatever, 6 years ago now.
Yeah, it's amazing. Like we went really early days of 11FS. We went out to Berlin with the Solaris Bank guys, and we played. Like they had an Oculus Rift in their offices. You know, it's like big headset connected to a £5,000 supercomputer. And now you've got all of that power in it's just amazing, absolutely
Strapped to your
amazing.
head, yeah.
So I literally bought one off the back of your tweet saying how amazing it was, which I think shows the power of social media, if nothing else, really.
Yeah.
But we were just saying before we came on air, but having played around with it for a week, but also having seen my mother-in-law, mother, and my 7-year-old son play with it, it's the most intuitive interface I think ever. Just touch things, do things. You know. Are we selling it to you, mate? Like you're gonna? We've bought one.
I've got an addictive personality. I'm just a little bit worried that if I buy one, I will never go back to work.
Well, honestly, I could not recommend something more of them. You know.
Yeah.
And it's going to be amazing to see how people start to use them in more of a business context. You know. My mum was very much like this. Can you remember the film Disclosure?
Yeah.
Yeah, where she's kind of deleting files, like that was my mum's go-to thing on it. So at least she had a reference. So I was impressed.
We're so close to the screen resolution being high enough that you will be able to code in it, and at that point, like you know, in the office, in Monzo, and in every company, there's the headphone rule, right?
Yeah.
If I've got my headphones on, don't talk to me,
Yeah.
right? I have chosen to isolate one of my senses
Yes.
to remove distraction, right? But the main sense I want to isolate is my eyeballs,
Yeah.
right? I don't want to sit in front of a little monitor like this. I want to put my Rift on, I want to put my isolating headphones on, and then I want to have my keyboard in front of me.
Yeah.
Still physical keyboard,
Yeah.
touchpad. But then I want to grab a window and I want to drag it off the screen and I want to make it 200 feet big and over there. And then like you're going to have like your logs, you're going to have 3D visualizations of stuff, you're going to have infinity monitors all around you, and you'll just be isolated from the rest of the world.
Cool. And how have you found, like, I guess I'm going to like just try and drag this to something fintechy, but like I have bought a crazy amount of stuff on the store. Have you?
Yeah.
Like, and the
everything.
payments interface is so easy. You know, like it's hook up a card, 4 digits, done, and like I'm buying all sorts of games and all sorts of things. You know.
Yeah, I loaned my Rift to a good friend of mine who had ordered one, but it hadn't arrived.
Right.
And he WhatsApped me. He's like, "What's your Rift PIN number?" It's like, "I'll pay you back." And I'm like, so yeah, I was sitting there all night watching my phone go ka-ching, ka-ching, ka-ching.
Yeah. It is painful, but it's like I say, I honestly think the business use of it could be reasonably significant. Like you say, isolating individuals, but actually even just for what video we use almost exclusively Google Hangouts for anybody who's remotely, because it gives you like a real physical interaction. Seeing people's eye contact, like being able to do that in a fully VR world. Like I was literally sat with a friend on a virtual sofa, both of us watching Netflix. Like it's weird what you can kind of do, So do you find there's like a slight niggle at the back of your head for this like dystopian future where people have flats that are like the size of a box but like live in the VR headset?
Absolutely. I think one of the great games that I've been playing is table tennis, and I can't fit a table tennis table in my living room, but I can fit the space that I need to stand to play table tennis in my living room, and then when I play Racket Fury is the name of the game. When I play that, the actual table tennis table extends through the wall into my neighbor's house. But I'm seeing the table tennis table over there, but there's actually a wall in front of me.
Nice.
But I'm playing table tennis from behind the table, right? And that's incredible. It's like I've got more rooms in my house now.
Yeah.
So yeah, I definitely think it's changed a lot of things.
Yeah. Do you know what? I watched the Champions League final on it, and it was both amazing sitting there, essentially watching the football on a cinema-sized screen, but then quite sad because I was just sat in a dark room on my own doing it type thing. So there's pros and cons of this VR world. I'm not really sure if I like it or I'm terrified of it. But yeah, all I want is some sort of affiliate code where you can make all the money back. That all of these people are going to go and buy one of these ones. But all right, move on. Last technology we're going to have a discussion about, and I know you've dabbled in various different minds with this one, is blockchain. It sounds to me, I mean, the Ripple stand is over there, so there's still some people doing some things with it. But the sort of hype around DLT and blockchain have kind of probably come down off it's going to change everything and everybody's investing in it. And similar to our point around AI earlier on, everybody is suddenly doing a startup with it in. Is this space just matured, or?
I think we're crossing the trough of disillusionment in that famous, I think it's Gartner.
It is, yeah.
It's a Gartner diagram. I think we're crossing the trough of disillusionment, and I'm hearing genuinely projects are genuinely getting pretty close to being impactful. I'm really excited about the Bank of England doing the synchronization work in 2022, and from our point of view, it's like we don't really care what the technology is. If you give us a quicker route to market to connect to a payment scheme in a way that reduces risk, that's the one we will choose.
Sure.
As an engineer, it makes very little difference if I sign a transaction and throw it into a mempool, or if I call an API over the internet, or if I send a MQ message down a fiber optic link, those, or create a batch file and send it over SFTP. Those 4 ways of interacting with the financial services markets and our peers in the financial services market, I don't really care. It makes no difference to me.
Yeah.
So if that's a quicker, lower risk way to market, then that's what we will use.
Well, and not being wedded to one of them and that being always the one that you're doing forever. I think this is the problem that many big banking organizations get themselves into, is that they define a standard and that standard then is the standard forever. Kind of missing the point that actually technology advances quicker outside their organization than in, meaning the thing that they've decided is just the thing now.
Yeah.
What do you think? I don't know if you've looked too much into the DLT space before.
In some ways. So there was a hype around digital identity that is still there in some ways, but it's taking longer for it to show much yet. But there is hope.
Yeah.
With payments, it seems to be picking up. You got BitPesa for payments, or BitPay now. You can accept payments and in any currency or in any cryptocurrency, and then it's converted to fiat currency. So there is movements for settlements that can be done, but tokenization, especially of securities and the stable coins that are going to, in all likelihood, increase in popularity, there is some excitement and interest in that. It's not going to be exciting in the fluctuations that you're going to get with traditional digital currencies, but there's good reason why it will take off.
I think it's a really interesting thing. I think almost like bizarrely, the knock-on effect of all of the sort of hype around cryptocurrency has actually got people into investing in the stocks market. It's really bizarre because actually people want that immediacy of being able to sit there and watch something, and actually it fluctuates, but maybe not all of the risk. I don't find that many taxi drivers are now talking to me about it, which is probably the point where actually nobody's giving me that hot tip about Ethereum that I was getting.
Yeah.
But it's an interesting one to see how it develops. I think, like you say, identity has always been the use case that people have kind of put out there. If you could actually get a mutable identity scheme that you can tap into, and actually allows you to be in a situation where you give out parts of the data, not all of the data, and actually even being able to time that rather than actually just giving away all of the information. I think the hard thing with data protection and identity at the moment is probably everybody's identity and everybody's information is already out there. I'm not sure having anything right now where the horse is well and truly bolted, I imagine, in most of those instances. We've probably traded it for airport Wi-Fi at some point, and it's all out there and it's all done. So, it'll be interesting. Maybe future generations will benefit, but maybe not us.
The Estonian government here, and I think they've got it right. I think governments should issue their citizens with a private key and a hardware security module, and then, you know, like the one thing that I got out of the whole cryptocurrency world is self-custody of identity and self-custody of your data is a powerful thing.
Yeah.
Decentralization. My mum's probably not ready for self-custodying her entire net worth yet, but one day.
You never know. Like it only takes somebody to explain it really in a simpler way. Like maybe over Sunday lunch, you can bring that one up and see what she says.
Yeah.
All right. On that note, probably what would be good to finish on actually is like, I mean, Money 2020 is bigger than ever. Like Simon, I think you said it's the first time you've been here, but it's pretty intimidating walking around the floor, right? It's a big space.
Yeah. Yep.
You've had a good look around. You've had I guess a look at the agenda over the next couple of days.
Yeah.
What are you looking forward to?
I'm really excited about EPOS, and I know that sounds really weird, but electronic point of sale systems. I think next year, like I don't want to see the big clunky things that you put your PIN number into anymore. I think the next time there's a hardware refresh, the devices that replace the current hardware will have Bluetooth Low Energy and a screen and a camera and an NFC reader. And at that point, innovation becomes a software problem, right? An over-the-air update will enable new features. And wow, and I'm walking around here today talking to all the EPOS manufacturers, and like what I'm really looking for, and I haven't found it yet, is I want someone to put an EPOS system in an Android smartwatch. But I haven't seen it yet. But they're getting so small. Like there's ones now that can will just live on the table, like where you're in a restaurant. So EPOS, I think, is the next big fighting ground probably after challenger banks actually.
All right. Well, good luck finding some EPOS. I'm sure based on how big this is, there's got to be at least 3 of them here.
There's at least 5.
Yeah. All right. How about you?
So it's good how Money 2020 is becoming the go-to place for announcements. So already it's only been one morning. We've had Big Pay announcing that they have a license and they're going to start doing remittance in Europe. We have Santander and Astro saying they're just about to launch. I've not had a chance to walk around yet, but it's just more and more announcements coming around, which is kind of exciting.
Yeah, I mean, especially not just startups, but like you say, big companies using this as a platform to shout about something they're actually doing, which is nice. So, very, very cool. All right, well, we better go and wander around the stalls and see what we can find. It's been probably about 15-20 minutes since the last time I ate something off one of them as well, so we need to go find something else to eat. Thanks very much for joining in today. Simon, where can people learn more about you?
Simon VC on Twitter, or follow Making Monzo.
Very good. Where can people find out more?
Husayn Kassai at Twitter, or Onfido at Twitter.
Very good. And you can find me at David Brear. If you like this, then, we're going to be doing a lot more of these at Money 2020. If you don't, then, thanks for joining us and see you again soon, hopefully. If you don't like seeing our faces, because it's usually my fault, the horror that is me, then head over to iTunes and you can find us on Fintech Insider, Blockchain Insider, and InsurTech Insider. We've got loads of podcasts out there, loads of content, loads of material. I think we're going to be doing another one of these tomorrow, Pat? Wednesday. Okay, Wednesday. So we'll catch you guys on Wednesday. See ya.